Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome to the space. Thank you for joining me, Hulu at Pachiso Live. Well, uh, things are happening in the world, and whether we like it or not, we have a duty and a responsibility to be talking about reality that is taking place across the world, reality that is taking place in our world. You see, it is always something that when it doesn't come to your country, you can always think that no, it will never happen in my country. It will never happen, but then it is happening in other countries and it can happen in any country. What is going on in Nepal? What are the issues? What has been going on last week before the protests began in Nepal? Before these protests started, the government was going about its business. Many ministers were building homes. The leaders of Nepal were having people ululating in the streets as they were walking in the streets. And yet, all of a sudden, the coin just flipped and everything collapsed. We saw the beating up of the finance minister, brutality all over the place, and protests all over in the cities. What lessons can we draw? I mean, from these kind of developments, what is it that we can be able to learn as a country, as Zimbabwe as a country, when people complain underneath and they complain that they are not happy with the manner in which government is going about its business, and apparently everything continues to run as normal, and people will tell you that there's nothing wrong, everything is normal. All of a sudden, disaster strikes, and we see things happening. So in Nepal already, I mean, it is something that we have seen. The government was very boisterous a week ago. Padare, you have fallen off. I would want you to come back again to the speakers so we can have a conversation. Brother JT, come to the speakers so we can have that conversation going. It's very, very important. It's very, very important for us to be able to, I mean, to discuss these issues. You see, I feel very sad right now to know that the parliament building in Nepal has been torched. I feel very bad that the ministers' houses are being razed to the ground, and the leaders of Nepal are on the run. The soldiers have gone into the streets now, and people are embracing the soldiers and thanking them for not, stopping them from overthrowing the government. And yet, in our own country of Zimbabwe, we have got. We have got something running. We have seen the roads. We have seen. We have seen things develop in our country. We have seen some development taking place in our country, and people are saying, "Oh, everything is okay, everything is normal, and all that in the country." But at the same time, the civil servants in our country continue to earn 250. We have had just recently, ladies and gentlemen, we have just had, look at the fare from Harare to Mutare, by air, $85 one way ticket, and in a country where you are earning $250 per month. Now, ask yourself, will you ever be able to fly? These are realities that people sometimes don't want to talk about. But these are realities of life where you have got simmering tension underneath, and a sense where the government doesn't seem to care about those who say they are worried about the state of affairs in a country. So these things are necessary for us to be able to talk about. So let's talk about these issues, guys, in terms of what do you think about what is going on in Nepal? What do you think about what is going on in our country, Zimbabwe? What are some of the lessons that we can be able to learn from Nepal itself? What are the lessons? We cannot refuse to learn because learning is a continuous process. Any individual that refuses to learn, no matter how old they are, they say you gain experience through age, but there's so many new things that you see in the world, so many new things that you see happening around you, and you got to learn. Learning is a continuous process. Thank you for joining me, Hulu, at Pachiso Life. And let's have the discussion going. And we always remind that the hope we have, us and our children and our children's children, let it be the same hope they have all others and their children and their children's children, those whose homes we will never know and those whose nations we will never visit. For the hope of a Zimbabwean child must be universal. Hot Seat Empire, let me start with you, my co-host, before I go to Padare. Right. Hot Seat, I know that you are a Christian. You once told me that. I hope I'm telling the truth here. Hot Seat, are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
All right. Now, look, Hot Seat, before disaster takes place, before Jesus Christ comes back, if you read in the Bible, they say everything will be the same as what it has been in the time of Noah. Everything will be as it has been in the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. That they drank, they ate, they gave marriage, and in marriage, and all of a sudden, the Son of Man will come like a thief in the night to those who are careless. And now we have seen yet another careless government fall in Nepal. Hot Seat Empire, events changed in 2017. President Mugabe, before he was removed from government, nobody thought that he could actually be removed from the government. He looked very thin, in power, sleeping even at rallies, relaxed, not showing any sign of anything. There were some rumors about the military plotting something, and he said, no, that is not going to happen. And it happened. Hot Seat, I want to find out from you, how safe are we? And I'm going to be asking that also to Padare and Reinhard. How safe are we from disaster? And here I'm talking about in general. How safe is a human being from disaster? We saw there's a minister, they were giving speeches. A minister collapsed. There's a minister from another country in Europe, and she's a health minister, somebody that you think should probably be knowing how to take her medication before she speaks on a podium. But she fell, collapsed in front of people. A minister from Europe, a health minister, by the way, right? How far are we from disaster, Hot Seat Empire? Before I go to Padar and Reynard.
Thank you, Hulu. I just have two things to say. First, I know someone from Nepal, actually knowing them, and I've known them for a few years. And I remember asking her, like, your country's so small. It's the only country that doesn't have a rectangle flag. Um, and it's just the way she spoke about it and about her family and how she had to look for a better job. She was really qualified, but she couldn't use it there, and then came here and everything, and her story. And right now, Astogona, it's such an emotional time because of how the royalties there in Nepal lived, according to how her family and her parents lived. She's like someone akatumira 10 euros kutenda kunoita maparents acho kunge varuda kuchema kuti kowo unozoita sei wandipa 10 euros. It's kind of heartbreaking. So for her right now, she doesn't even want to talk about it. It's so emotional on levels that are like, I never thought it would happen in my lifetime. Maybe I can now go home. But I want to speak about what happened in France. The French government collapsed. It collapsed about 2 days ago. When I say collapsed, I mean the prime minister was about to give his
And
budget.
sorry,
Okay.
Hot Seat. I don't lose your train of thought. By the way, for who are joining us, Hot Seat Empire is in France, so she actually knows what she's talking about. So, Hot Seat, you are not just talking about rumors here. You are talking about a country where you are staying, right?
Yes, I am.
Continue, Hot
So,
Seat.
yeah. So I I don't know, maybe controversial what I'm gonna say, but France is very famous for those yellow, my yellow, we call it my yellow jacket protests. People know when French people are protesting, they go wild, they burn cars, they burn things. Even here with public transport is so good, but they give you orders, like they block roads. There's nothing you can do about it. The police can't even protect you. If that road is closed, even if the cops are there, there'll be jambanja. It will be really difficult. But this government was ousted by the votes in parliament by vote of no confidence, and it's like the fifth prime minister France has had in the past 2 years. So what is important about this is that all these riots and all these protests that have been going on for the past few years haven't worked. But parliament, they had like 342 votes against 192 votes, meaning that the prime minister is leaving with his whole government. Government, I mean, my minister is Ese. He was told to put resignations for all ministries on Macron's desk. Okay, but then there was analysts was saying obviously Macron might ask them to stay to stay just for normalcy in certain ministries for whilst they're trying to organize changes and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say is I'm confused. I'm conflicted about protests because in some places they work, in some places they don't. France is, like I said, popular for protests, right? But yet, this is not how they changed the government. This is not how they changed it. They changed it through parliament, through vote of no confidence. But there's some countries where, for example, Nepal, it worked for them. So I don't know, is there a formula for this stuff, you know? And I'm telling you, I've seen I was not in Zim in 2017 when the coup happened, so I really couldn't gauge on the ground. It's different Repap phone, but on the ground to gauge when you're looking into people's eyes, are they frustrated or are they happy? But yeah, I can tell you, I've walked in the short teaser, you know, and you are seeing people marching. Avana kana care, you will forget Masala, they don't even have a care. You'll have someone who's a millionaire walking next to someone who's got $2 next to someone who's a homeless person. The level of anger and outrage is the same, that they can't be pulled back. Most French army people who are in the army or in the security service, they wear the face masks. Okay, face masks. Like in Zim, a soldier, you can just see them road. Here, they wear face masks. They don't want to be recognized. Okay, they don't even want to be recognized by anybody. That's how intense the French people can be. Yuktoti, they'll come for you even after the protest. They want you. They don't want to be identified. So it's just interesting for me right now to say, what lessons can Zimbabweans learn? I don't know, because depending on the ground, like right now, things were calm. The times of protest were not around, but all of a sudden it changed. The times of protest when they were there, nothing changed. So I don't know, Hulu. That's just I'm just gonna throw that out there if anyone has a comment. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Let me
Olu,
just go to
Olu,
yes,
I,
Honorable Propriety.
Olu,
You want to jump the
ye-
queue?
yes.
They've been Padarin
Sorry,
and
sorry.
Reynard here.
My, my internet, my data is acting up. My network is acting
Okay,
up. Sorry.
Padarin
I just
Reynard,
want to submit
they
something.
are good guys. So guys, can I allow Honorable Propriety to just take it now? Okay, go ahead, Honorable Propriety. These are guys I know we can deal with each other. Yeah. All right, Honorable Propriety. So what is
Th-
happening? What has happened in Nepal and the lessons for
mm,
Zimbabwe? How would you take that?
All right. Thank you very much. If you are to dig deep into the government of Nepal, the government it was a the president and the prime minister were were having delegated duties, whereby the prime minister is the one responsible for forming or appointing all the ministers. For a government to be solid, it's very difficult if there is power sharing. Let's go back to Zimbabwe. We have got an opposition which is once said alliance. When alliance formed, it means there are two or more different people who come together to fight for a common cause or for a common goal, right? What we are what we are seeing now, these are the dangers of power sharing, whereby this opposition here in Zimbabwe, they try to come together, try to form a government. It always have a challenge. See now, they have formed alliance, they have formed CC. Now they are now talking about movement, whatnot. It is a challenge. That's what I can say. I hope you get my point, my
On,
point that I was trying to
Honorable
illustrate.
Papairi, what are the lessons for Zimbabwe? That's the topic. What are the lessons for Zimbabwe? Can you answer that? I understand you have just talked now about a power sharing government, and to say that there are weaknesses in a power sharing government. I'm not very sure whether that is shared across the board, because we had a power sharing government, by the way, from 2008 to 2013. We had a power sharing government, so I don't know whether you can classify that power sharing arrangement that we had as something that can be, a bone of contention among the populace to reach an extent where people would seek to overthrow the government. The ministers' houses are being burnt in Nepal. The parliament building has now been razed to the ground, and everything governmental. The ministers are being beaten up in public and things like that. And yet, if you can look at the visuals just before the protest started, the ministers, people were ululating in the streets. Everything looked very, very normal. And nobody thought that it was going to happen this way. I mean, from the way they would carry themselves and the mansions that they were building. I am talking here not about theory, Honorable Fapairi. I'm talking about reality. Collins Mnangagwa, for example, and this is reality, by the way, because Padare is here, and then we will be talking ZANU PF as well. You know, I mean, the stories about, Collins Mnangagwa's road, and that, they in the intention by the council to sell off that road to him, and people being not given access to, to the road and stuff like that. I'm talking here about the sentiment on the street, what people feel, and the reality, where people appear as if there's nothing. People are feeling nothing, everything. People are happy, and all of a sudden something happens and the whole system falls apart, and people go around burning houses. What are the lessons for Zimbabwe, Honorable Fapai?
Yeah, right. The lessons that I was trying to allude to you earlier on is if you get me right, if you are to reflect on the what do you call it, the coalition we did, sometimes the one you were referring to. If you are to reflect, there was no significant developments compared to the current uh, uh, regime or second republic that we have today. You can point out the differences.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Mfapaire. Let me just go to Padare. Padare, as
So,
much as we
Hulu,
love
I
our
just want to
country,
state, I don't know if
also,
you know
yeah,
this. I just want to,
okay.
yeah, that the prime minister's wife, she died. She was last night. She was burnt, in her house, in the government house. I don't know if you know that in Nepal, she actually passed away. But people are not even focusing on that because of the level of anger. So maybe people are actually dying in these protests. It's just not people are running around Tunguro 5 minutes. People are actually dying.
Yeah, people are actually dying. The prime minister's wife burned to ashes, and propaganda for me is something that I am not interested in. I'm not interested in propaganda, because this is reality. Nepal is burning. The prime minister's, his wife has now been burnt to death, and it's reality. And Padare, here we are, and we have a country, and we have seen the beautiful parliament, we have seen all that. But underneath, we have also had the cries from, look, the lecturers at the University of Zimbabwe have been on strike for the longest of time. The civil servants, despite their rank, continue all to get USD 250. Many of them cannot afford to fly. We continue to see people like Wikno Zivayo dishing out cars. Yesterday, he just gave 20 cars, free cars, to the ushers in one of the churches. Just like that. And it appears as if there is no end in sight when you look at the divide between those who have and those who do not have. And yet, we are told by some that we should just look the other way. Everything is fine, the roads are being built, and life goes on. And I'm worried about my country. What do you think can be the lessons that we can learn from Nepal? Padare, go ahead.
One lesson that we can learn from Nepal is in Zimbabwe is that Nepal is not Zimbabwe, and I can give you that for a fact that what you're seeing in Nepal will never happen in Zimbabwe, never ever happen in Zimbabwe. But how did Nepal come to that? First of all, I would like to pass my sincere sorrows and sadness to the people of Nepal. There's loss of life. I served with the Nepalese group, which is to RGR, part of the British elite forces in
And
Nashara
Padare,
South.
sorry.
But
By
can
the
you hear
way,
me?
Padare, remember that you need to greet people as well, right? Remember that you also
Hello,
greet
sir.
people on
Hello,
this
Hulu.
space.
I was going to greet you and co-host Hulu. Thank you for giving me this
Nokuti
opportunity to
munhu
speak to you.
anokangana
Yeah.
kutomhoresa.
No, no. Mutero wakuru totokumurisa mchida.
Ah, it's fine,
I
don't
had
worry, it's fine.
I had the opportunity to serve with the Gurkhas, which are part of the British elite forces, in an area called Nacharat South. It was a very kinetic time, I think, for the region of Afghanistan. There was a lot of death and a lot of fighting going around that area. But when we went in with this group, something just turned around because they understood the dynamics of human transaction and working with the people on the ground. We managed to they managed because they understood the language, they understood the way people lived in that area, and actually managed to achieve the mission that the Americans forces and the Welsh guards and the Irish guards had failed to do in that region. And we lost quite a lot of people in the battle group that I was with, and my heart goes to them. It is quite a saddening time for me because I knew, and I understand how much some of these youngsters took their time and strength to really leave their country in order to be where they are and where they were for those that survived that battle, in order to look after their families. Again, the British military and in Nepal have always had an agreement of the Geka units where they do a recruitment in Nepal. And the Geka unit is actually the second prestigious army fighting force for the British nation. That said, with a little bit of history, with which I understand, I also understand that in Nepal itself is a very complicated region, a very mountainous region. Looking at it, it's got borders with India, China, Mongolia, and all the other regions in there. Very isolated in some way, in terms of access, in terms of resources and so forth. And China being the main player in getting goods and services into that region. What we can understand also, yes, there's a lot of corruption. That is, there's a history around corruption. But what's significant about this Nepal is the culture and the class set. These people live in a class set where those from the lower families are classified as slaves. In these regions, as you can understand, Hulu, you remain of history, you'd see that these class systems still exist in most parts of these regions, and the way they live, right? To they've got a royal system somehow embedded into their governance, and as part of the elections. Daniel, can you reduce your volume a bit? As part of a part of the governance system, it has always been disputed elections, and there's always been in a shared government of unity and so forth. I know that following this, there will be another government formed, because the parties are still there. Be another government formed from this. But from what we are learning and what we are seeing, it is actually a shame for the people of Nepal, really, because this only will lead to further recolonization, because of the way the region and the way the country is set. You will see many countries will set their foot after this, following this. That will be the birth of rhythm. You'll see the United Kingdom, especially the United Kingdom, because it's got a lot of interest within Nepal, because it's still seen as a subject, and so forth. So you'll see many Western countries pushing themselves into this gap and actually following a recolonization process that's going to happen in there. It's not a win. It's not a win for these Gen Z that you've just seen on here. Let us not be fooled by what has just happened. This is young people who have actually taken their country backwards. From what I understand from Nepal, I've got very close friends, from Nepal. I've served with the guys from this region. I'll post pictures here for some that would want to see where I'm coming from with these people. And it's actually, for me, it's a very sad time, because what these guys were trying to do in order to bring change. There's a good part. There was a parliament system, a very big one, but again, the issues of corruption, the issues of sanctions, the issues of mismanagement. There's quite a lot of stuff that happens in this. But the most position is they never really had a total control of their country, and knowing the geopolitics of this region, they've actually set themselves backwards, because remember, there's also disputed conflicts with China, with India borders, and so forth. So for me, for those that might be celebrating what they're seeing as a banning of a parliament, and the death of a prime minister's wife, as a victory to anything that they don't understand, for a region that they've never known. Most people here, as Zimbabweans, I would pick if you tell me that how many people will come up here and say they've actually seen a Nepalese person and spoken to one. Very few people would say that, Hulu. But I'll leave
All
it for
right.
now and hear what others are going to say. But I'll post my pictures with the battle group, and this is the only time perhaps I'll share my proper military world with people, because these guys are quite fighting force, and it's a shame what is happening in the country. Many thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Padari. Reinhard, it is backwards, according to Padari. It is a way where Nepal is likely going to be recolonized. It will never happen in Zimbabwe, and Nepal is not Zimbabwe. But then in 2017, we had Zimbabwe, which for 40, how many years by then after independence, which had never seen a coup, and which is not a coup by some other people's standards, but it happened in 2017. So, should we say? Should somebody ever say never? Reinhard, what do you think?
Thank you, Ulu. Thank you, Otsi. Thanks, Padari. Good evening to everybody. I think probably, okay, sorry, Padari, for the loss of your comrades, eh? But I think probably it's disillusion, Padari is disillusion to think that this can't happen in Zimbabwe, and then to bring the issues of recolonization, because already the Chinese have already colonized us already, indirectly. So he can't say, no, the British are going to recolonize or something, whereas us, we are already recolonized. Their positions already being taken already by the government to show us that recolonization is already happening. I mean, it is unfortunate, I mean, for the Prime Minister's wife to have been killed. But as such, we have seen such revolutions after some cycles, revolutions taking place. And currently, the issues of migration are some of the causative issues which are actually impacting on populations in the countries where we are actually seeing revolt. If we actually analyze the Nepalese issue, some of it has got to do with corruption, a lot of it, which we've got corruption beyond measure. We know that we don't have an RBZ, we don't have anything. We've got some few people only benefiting from the economy, only those close to the president. And there are some positions which are being pushed. Now, let's imagine a kid who was born in 2005, and now this is 2025. He's 20 years old, voted, nothing has changed, never worked, seeing all this corruption and now being dragged. All these issues and unemployment and no hospitals and stuff like that, all these issues piled on a kid who has never known independence, and now he is the Gen Z inside the country. How do you think he reacts actually when he's watching all these, optics happening in front of them to say the people of Nepal have actually revolted, the people of there, they've actually revolted? The other thing was the extravagance of the children of the elite, what they were doing. For example, we've got the Pokelo case. There it is, somebody go taking coffers, money from corruption money and going to set up, maybe trying to launch a wine brand and stuff like that. But while these things are actually deteriorating in a country, our government has actually reneged this position to say, listen, we are capable of governing, because we are seeing the mass migration of our own people, to run away from the country and go into some other countries. It is happening right in front of our eyes. And yet these people, even if we engage, or even when you try to talk here and sound alarms to say, people, listen, what you are doing is not actually appropriate, or maybe a way of governing people. We are seeing arrogance actually prevailing. We are seeing arrogance to the extent that somebody is going to buy a street in order to impose his will. Yet, according to town planning, that is not actually was the plan. So we see an arrogant, party which actually could itself previously, which even now, they are trying actually to